a lot of us, all of us should pray this prayer more often, because it really is a protective hedge prayer. This morning I was I'm looking to employ someone to clean our home, and I made an arrangement with the person. I made an arrangement with the person to meet them at 9:30 on this day, and I told them where to get off, and I gave them directions to get to a certain point, and then I would come fetch them. And they said, "Oh no, I know exactly where that is." And I said, "Okay, well, that's a good thing." Today was the day, and at the time that I had, we had set up and scheduled for her to call me and pick her up, I went to the place where I was supposed to pick her up. There's a grocery store nearby, so I was like, okay, let me go into the grocery store and wait for her call. Let me be in the area by the time that she calls. She's not in the area, and I'm walking out of my car, and I start praying, and I say, Lord, if this is not the correct person to clean our home, shut the door. You see all and you know all. This is the prayer. You see all and you know all. And if this person is not the person that's supposed to be in our home cleaning for us, because you know everything about them and you see everything about them, shut the door, Lord. And the person calls and they say they're on their way, they're in the taxi. They're late at this point, like 20 minutes late at the time that they're telling me they're getting on the taxi and they're on their way. I start to wait for them in the car, and I said, let me wait here until they arrive. And the Holy Spirit says, no, don't wait. They've lost the privilege to be picked up because they're late and they didn't call to say, hey, I'm running late. This is what's happening. I'm not familiar with the area, whatever the reason was. Still had grace, because I felt like, okay, she doesn't know where she is, and your first day, your first week, your first few weeks at any job, it's a struggle around getting to work on time because you're in a new place. I have grace towards that. But the Holy Spirit says, no, don't wait for her. She's lost that offer. So I leave. And I come back home and I say, well, I'll just give her the direction. She calls me, she says, I'm here. And I give her the directions and I say, call me if you're getting lost. It takes about this, from where she was to where I am, it should have been a 10-minute walk at the most. 10 at the most. 20, 30 minutes passes and she's not here. And by the time she calls, she tells me where she is. And she's literally gone the opposite direction, away from where we live, like far, far away in the opposite direction. She's like in now the industrial area. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, why would you walk from seeing houses and then walk the opposite direction towards businesses, towards a place that doesn't look like a neighborhood, a suburb? And that's where she walked to, away. Came back, she says, oh no, I won't be able to come. I've walked so hard, and now I've walked over this bridge and there's street people that live here and it's scary, blah, blah, blah. She says, can we make another day? And I said, okay, give me a moment, I'll call you back. Let me think about what day is suitable and I'll call you back. I start thinking, and I'm asking God what to do now. And I said, well, look at some things. She was late. She lied about, knowing exactly where she was supposed to go. She clearly, from the direction that she took, she didn't know where she was supposed to go. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So it says, so God says to me, she first lied about where she was supposed to go, knowing exactly where she was supposed to. She said she knew exactly, and clearly she didn't. She had no clue where she was, and there would have been no problem in saying, hey, I'm not familiar with the neighborhood, maybe I can get off here and then you can pick me up and then I can learn the route today. Well, that would have been fine for me. He said, but then he said, I turned her away. She went the opposite direction, and that means something. I sent something, a wind, angels. I sent something from heaven to turn her away, so that as she's hearing you describe these directions to her, she turns away and she says, look at that action of, she goes the opposite direction, away from the houses. She goes the opposite direction. What does that mean? And I said, like, you were turning her away. She went away. And he says, I was shooing her away from you. You asked me to shut the door if this is not the correct person. If this is going to be someone who's going to steal from you, do the least that's expected, just not be satisfied and be frustrating to you. You said, if all of these things are in this person, or one of these things are in this, shut the door. And that's what I did. I turned them away. More and more, I am bold and encouraged to pray the prayer to shut doors to places that I'm not supposed to be in, people that I'm not supposed to have access to and interact with. More and more, I have this reverence for this type of prayer, because I realize the type of pain that comes into one's life when you are stuck with something in your life that's not supposed to be in your life, with someone in your life, in a circumstance that's not supposed to be in your life, simply because you were so intrigued and interested in the what if, that you let something in your life that wasn't supposed to be. When a lot of things for me have been turned away, the door has been shut to a lot of things. And when I look in hindsight, I'm so grateful for the mercy and the grace of God to redeem me and save me, literally, out of those situations, because they weren't for me. They were not meant for me. They were not for my good, and they were not from His good and His blessing and His plan and His purpose for me. So it's not that you're missing something when you say you're putting yourself in a position. It's not that you're putting yourself in a position where you're missing something when you say, God, just shut the door to things that aren't for me and open the doors to things that are for me. Shut the doors to people that aren't for me, and places and locations and tasks and jobs and works that aren't for me, and open the doors to things that are for me. Jobs, places, people, works, tasks, activities. Open the door to that. You're not missing out on anything. You don't have to explore everything. Only just ask God to open the door to the things that are for you, and to shut the doors to the things that are not for you. And tell Him, I always tell Him why. I say, I trust your judgment. You are an all-seeing and all-knowing God. He's omniscient and He's omnipresent. He sees around the corners. I always say the Holy Spirit sees around the corners that you can't see around. I have discernment. I've asked for it. But there's beyond a certain distance, beyond a certain point, I cannot see. I'm short-sighted. Whereas the Holy Spirit is short-sighted, can see near and can see far, can see around the corner. My natural sight is really good. How far I can see, the Holy Spirit sees further where I cannot even see. And so I always tell God, I trust you. I trust that you know what you're doing, and you know who's supposed to be here, and I'm willing to give up who's not supposed to be. I'm willing to give up what's not supposed to be here. I'm willing to give up the salary that's not to be supposed to be my salary. I'm willing to give all of this if it's not for me, so that I can get a hold of what's for me. I remember 2 years ago, I walked away from a 6-figure salary because I came to a halt, and I came to a realization and a revelation that this job is not for me, and I am blocking the person's place whom this job is supposed to be for. And I am graceful, and at that point, by the grace of the Holy Spirit, the grace of God, he allowed me to be graceful enough to let it go. And I did. And let me see how many months. 3 months after I let that job go, an opportunity that paid me so well, that was exactly what I'm supposed to do with my life, came up. And so I know for sure that when you pray this kind of prayer, Lord, shut the door to things that aren't meant for me, and open the doors that can never shut to things that are meant for me. I trust you. I believe in your discernment and your judgment. You see further than I could ever see. You know deeper than I could ever perceive or discern. And if you want me to know the deep things, you'll reveal them to me. But even the things that are just, I'll never know. I trust your judgment. Most of the time, I don't know why God is shutting a door. Some of the time, I get to learn why. And I'm like, oh, thank you for your mercy and your grace. Thank you for saving me from that. You know, that's the message. Pray this prayer often, and you'll see your flesh rise, because you're gonna miss out on something. That fear of missing out flesh thing is going to rise up, and it's going to try to convince you to make an incorrect choice and make a flawed move, because you don't trust the judgment of God. You don't trust that God knows what's good for you and what's not, what you need and what you don't need, what should be in your life and what shouldn't be in your life. Your flesh will rise up, but you need to subdue it with your spirit that trusts in the Lord, that relies on the Lord, that is confident in the discernment, in the judgment of the Lord, which far surpasses how well we can judge, how wisely we can discern. It far surpasses. That's why we have the Holy Spirit as our counselor and our help. That's why we have the whole Trinity living on the inside of us, so that we get help that goes beyond where we have grown to spiritually. Help that goes beyond, so that we're always on the path of righteousness. We're always on the path of where we're supposed to be, and never where we're not supposed to be, in some crooked valley somewhere, confused about how did I end up here. FOMO is how you ended up there. I'll see you next time. Bye.